Hi guys, and welcome back to Blender. So we have done our two buildings and now we're going to do some trees. So we're going to need to hide these two buildings, so I'm just going to put them onto layer 2. So that's M to bring up your layer menu, and then just with one of your buildings selected, just move it on to layer 2 and then select your second building and then move that onto layer 2 as well. And now we're gonna make a tree. So to do that, we're going to bring in a cube. So Shift A and then cube. Now you might be thinking, why are we using a cube to make a tree? That doesn't really seem like the sort of natural primitive shape that we'd be using. A cylinder we probably think might work a bit better. But we're going to be doing this a little bit differently. So if we just hop over into edit mode and we go to vertices select, so all of our vertices are now selected, we're going to collapse these down into this middle pivot point in the center. So we're going to bring up our merge vertice tool, so Alt M, and we're just going to select at center. Now what that's done is it's collapsed all 4 of those vertices down into one single point that's currently at the center of our scene. So what we're going to do now is we're going to extrude this one vertice. So if I just hit E, you can see now that I've pulled this out, and if I just left click, I can just leave it there, and then we can move that around if it's not quite in the right place. We're just going to draw out the sort of rough structure of our tree trunk and branches using this method. So E to extrude again, and then just pull it out and keep moving around your object in 3D view, so you can just make sure it's not going off at a completely weird angle or anything like that. So E to extrude, and then just move your point out, and then I'm just gonna select this vertice and have another branch coming out from here. So E to extrude, and then just pull that out, and I'm going to make some smaller branches on the top one. So just can put your branches wherever you like. I'm just going to do a very simple tree just to show you how this works. Okay, so I'm happy with my tree structure. So currently at the moment all we've got in here is edges and vertices. So you can see we can select the edges and we can select the vertices, but we don't have any faces. So if we rendered this now, you wouldn't be able to see anything at all, because we need faces for the light to reflect off for it to be able to be seen. So how are we going to make this into actual proper geometry that we can actually use? So now we're going to add a skin modifier. So to bring up your modifiers menu, you need to come over to your properties panel and click on this little spanner icon, and this will bring up your modifier menu. So if you click on that, it will bring up your drop down menu with all your different modifiers, and we're going to want to add the skin modifier, which is in the generate column. So if we click on that, you can see that now it's added some actual faces and some extra geometry to our outline, which is great, but it's still not really looking very much like a tree. So we're going to have to scale each one of these vertices so that we can get some different sizing going on the geometry that is added. So if we just select these top points of our branches, so shift and right click to select all those. So I've got all those selected, and then to scale, because we're in the skin modifier, we don't use S, so if you press S you'll see that it's scaling the actual vertices themselves and not the actual geometry surrounding it. So I'm just going to right click to undo that, and then if we control A, now you can see that it's actually just scaling the skin modifier that we've applied, which is great. So we've scaled those down, but how do we get to the points that are inside this geometry that we can't see. So we're going to have to use a different viewport shader for that. So if you hit Z on your keyboard, you'll bring up wireframe mode, and then you can see that you can select the vertices that are inside that mesh. So I'm just going to select these top points and then Control A, and then I can scale those down. And then if you want to have a look to see what that looks like in solid mode, I'm going to click Z again and you can have a look. So I'm just going to hop back into wireframe mode again and just do this main tree trunk. So Z, and I'm going to select the two bottom points and Control A, and I'm going to scale those up. I'm going to scale this middle section up a bit as well, and then I'm going to see what that looks like. So that's looking a bit better. So if you wanted to add in an extra branch at this point, you can. If you just go to your wireframe mode, I'm going to select this middle point, and then I'm going to extrude out from that point. And you can see that because we've got the skin modifier applied, it's actually already applying that mesh around that point. So that's great, we don't have to reapply that. So I'm just going to scale that last point down, and then E to extrude again, and I'm just going to scale that one down as well. Okay, let's see what that's looking like. Okay, so I'm sort of happy with my tree shape. So if we select our bottom vertex and then extrude and constrain it along the Z-axis and then just pull it down, then you can see that that has now created a flat base for us. So I'm just going to hop back into solid mode. So this is our basic tree trunk shape. Just going to scale that in a bit. So this is our basic tree trunk shape, and now we need to sort of start getting it looking a little less blocky than it currently is. So I'm happy with the position of all my branches and my tree trunk. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply this skin modifier. Now applying modifiers is what's known as destructive editing. So once you've applied it, it's usually very difficult to sort of undo that application of that modifier. So if you guys aren't happy with your model and you want to change it, don't apply this. Only apply this once you're actually happy. So another thing that might have happened with you is if you've got little squares on the end of your branches, so you've just got a little extra square face, what you've probably done is you've extruded a point but you haven't moved it. So if you do have that, if you just select all, so A to deselect and A to select all again, if you come over to your toolbar on your left hand side, if you scroll down to the bottom you'll see this here, remove doubles. So if you just click on that, it will remove any duplicated vertices or edges that are there, and that should fix any issues that you have with your geometry. So another thing to watch out for is if you've got any deformity on your model. So if you have a look around, just make sure there are no black sections on any of your faces. It should all be grey faces. If you do have a bit of a black section, just try scaling it up or down to fix that deformity in the mesh, and that should make your model. Okay, so once you're happy with where everything is, you can apply your skin modifier. So I'm just going to click apply, and it's instantly told me that modifiers can't be applied in edit mode. So we're still currently in edit mode, so we're just going to have to tab back into object mode, and then we'll be able to apply that modifier. So now if we go back into edit mode, you'll see that it's sort of changed our geometry a bit, so it's actually split this up into faces for us, and now we can actually manipulate those faces if we wanted to. See, we can select different faces here. So we want to make this look a little less blocky and a little bit more like a low poly tree trunk. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another modifier to this. So I'm just going to deselect that and come back into our modifiers, and we're going to add the subdivision surface modifier. So instantly you can see that it's changed the shape of our tree trunk. It's made it a little bit rounder, and you can just have a play around with upping the subdivisions. I think I'm going to leave mine at about 3. I'm happy with that. And then I'm also going to apply that. So back into edit mode and click apply, and then we're going to add one more modifier, which is the decimate modifier. So I'm just going to grab this ratio bar and I'm going to start moving it down, and you'll see that when I get to the bottom it starts to go a little bit more stylized, which is what we're after. So I think I'm going to leave mine about there, quite like that, and then I'm also going to apply that modifier. So there we go, we've now got a tree trunk. So now we need to add in some leaves on this tree, and to do that we are going to use the sculpt tool. So first I'm just going to deselect my tree so that nothing in my scene is selected, and I'm going to add in some extra geometry. So I want to add in some spheres at the top of my branches, so I'm going to move my cursor up to the top of one of my branches, which is great, there it is, and then Shift A, and then I'm going to add an icosphere. You can add a UV sphere, but I just think icospheres look a bit nicer. So here we have an icosphere, and you can change the number of subdivisions or the scale. If you look on your toolbar on your left, you'll see here you've got add icosphere, and you've got subdivisions, and then you've also got size, which is your scale. So you can scale that using these values here, and you can change how many subdivisions you've got. I'm going to leave mine at about 3. So I've got my icosphere here at the top of one of my branches, and now we're going to want to make it look a bit less like a sphere and more like a clump of leaves. So we're currently in object mode, and so if you come down to your mode menu here at the bottom, you'll see we've got sculpt mode. So if we just click on that, it'll open up this toolbar for us, and if we click on this picture you can see that we've got various different sculpting options, different brushes that we can use. So I'm just going to use this F grab, and then you can see that we've got this green circle. This is our brush size, so we can change the ratio, the radius, sorry, we can change the radius here, so we can make it really big. That's probably going to leave mine at about 37, and I'm going to leave my strength at 1. And then if you just notice that if you just push it in, currently we are pushing in both sides of our icosphere at the same time, so it's set to mirror what we're doing. So we don't want that to be happening, so I'm just going to undo those edits, and if you scroll down under a symmetry lock, you'll see you've got the mirror turned on along the x-axis. So if you just uncheck that, and then you should be able to manipulate your sphere just where you're actually pressing. So if you hold down shift, it will push it in, and if you don't hold down shift, it will pull it out. So shift does the opposite. So I'm just going to use shift for this, and I'm just going to push some sections in until I'm happy with the shape. Okay, and then I'm going to hop back into object mode. So if you come down to your menu select again and select object mode, I'm just going to scale that up a bit, and then I'm going to rotate it as well, just so I've got it in the right place. Now we could then do the same process, so make sure everything's deselected and move your 3D cursor to another branch, and shift A, add in a new icosphere, move it to roughly where you want it, back to sculpt mode, and then just sculpt this one. That's quite nice. So you could repeat that process for all of your branches, or what you could do is we come back into object mode. It's with one of your tree leaf blobs selected. If you duplicate that, so shift D to duplicate, and then you can just move it to where you want it. And then you can scale it up, and you can rotate it and just get it sitting where you want it. And then if we select our other one and then shift D again to duplicate, we can move that over. And then we can select two at the same time and duplicate, and we can move them as well. So I'm just going to rotate these on the Z axis. Like so. And there we go. So now we've got our leaves and our tree trunk. So now we're going to be having a look at what we're going to do in terms of materials on these. So we're going to be looking at how we add materials onto these, and we'll be doing that in the next video. So I'll leave you guys here, enjoy making your trees, and I'll see you in the next video.